All right, folks, welcome back to Scarlet Oak Gray here on the Chat Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us. Real quick, guys, we are on a mission here to grow this channel, and I just got one simple ask of you. Like this video if you think that the Buckeyes are going to win pretty handily this Saturday. I want to gauge the confidence of Buckeye Nation going into Iowa. Are you confident? Like this video if you think this is a nice, 17 plus point victory. All right, today we're going to talk about PFF grades. PFF grades for Ohio State players, and we're going to rank them, specifically the defensive players. I think this is interesting. We have 4 games now, and the defense seems to be the hot topic, hot spot of contention when it comes into looking at the Buckeyes, right? Now, why is that? You can look and say, look, no one's scoring more than 7 or 14 on us. They pitched a shutout in one game. Why is there any talk at all against this defense? It was a top 5 defense last year. It did have a letdown in the game. However, didn't allow a lot of points. Why, with these returning starters and even more good bodies brought into town in Columbus, is this even a question about the defense? Okay, you may look at that and say, look, we're the number of NCAA.com has Ohio State as the number 2 overall defense, 196 yards a game, trailing only behind Tennessee, who's averaging or allowing 176. Now, you would say, so why am I criticizing the defense? I think, and I'm not saying me, but people who have strong criticism of this defense, I still don't know where I land, to be honest with you. Hopefully we can work through this together. If you would like, you can grade the defense in the comments, but give it a grade, but also stand by to listen to some of these players. They may surprise you. But the reason with what looks like good numbers on defense that some people are still critical is, one, the competition Ohio State's played has been awful. So we are grading that, I think, on this curve of, well, this team is awful. We know the talent level we have. So against awful competition, the talent level we have should really just bludgeon them. It should just be a bloody mess, really. And what happens besides that, what happens when the defense starts to kind of fail, or at least when the ball gets moved, or when touchdowns do happen, it's usually in the beginning of the game. But what looks so bad is, it's like, whoa, you weren't prepared for this team. It happened in the beginning of the game. But when the ball moves and when the ball crosses the goal line against the Buckeyes, sometimes it looks easy. Like sometimes it looks like no one was even in the right spot. It looks like there was confusion. Guys don't look athletic because they're confused, because they're so out of position. It's like, whoa, this bad team. Even Michigan State, I'm under no illusion that Michigan State's going to make waves this year. You're not either, if you're honest with yourself. Maybe you're being dishonest and want to pump up the Buckeye victory. It was a good victory. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying Michigan State's not very good. You can look at this and say, why did that look so easy against a bad team? We saw it at times against Marshall and other teams where the ball moved a little too seamlessly. Now, adjustments are made in the second half. I get that, and the teams are generally shut down. But what I'm saying is, why is there angst? One, because the competition is poor, and we don't know how good this offense will do against good competition, or this defense, excuse me. Drop in the comments, let me know, yes or no, just simple wire in. Do you think this defense is ready for to pass a stiff test against a really good offense, maybe a top 20 offense right now? Yes or no? So the fact that it moves easily against bad opponents at times has people's heads scratching. We know the talent's there and eventually it wins out, but it's still in the back of everybody's mind. Hey, Jim Knowles had a top 5 defense last year. And Michigan scored every single drive in the second half. Like, Jim Knowles shows he kind of can adjust once you figure him out. He never adjusts to run-heavy teams. He didn't to Michigan. Didn't Michigan for the year before that either. However, we know there was some tomfoolery going on up north. So that we kind of grade that on a curve. But the identity of this team's defense is yet to be seen, because when the ball moves, we have these small doubts. We're like pretty satisfied with Jim Knowles, but like he does some things sometimes where all of us go, what? That's an odd way to get a top 5 defense, letting them score this drive, like, right? So we have our doubts when we look with our eyeballs and we see it just looks too easy at times. You take it away later, but there's not this steel curtain. There's not this impenetrable front, right? It's not that kind of shutdown defense, which is, I kind of think, what we expected with all the defensive line returners, and the good linebackers, good safety play, great, corners returning, Jim Knowles getting his groove. That's what I think we expected, and that's not what we're getting, albeit by the numbers, we're getting a good defense. Okay, PFF. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right into it. I know I've asked for a lot of comments. I just want to see if anybody will get it right. Don't cheat. Right now, before I answer, pause the video and put who you think is the top defensive player, no snap count requirement, the top graded defensive player on Ohio State's roster this year according to PFF. Put it in the comments. Then you can restart the video. Okay, for those of you who obeyed the assignment, understood the assignment, and you're back, you're looking at Gabe Powers. 88.5 on overall defensive ranking. Now, I'm not going to count that because he's only had 19 snaps. What I am going to start talking about is people with 60 and above snaps. Why? Because that's where guys like Caden Curry fall. 63 snaps, right? Mitchell Melton, 66 snaps. You can have way less. Jalen McClain is looking at 39. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is looking at 37. So you kind of see that pecking order where that falls. A relief pair like Cade McDonald's at 71. So I want to see 60 snaps or more. Think that's a fair ask. And where do you fall? The number 1 defender, none other, Pickerington's own, big number 33, the trail ball striver, Jack Sawyer. Jack Sawyer is sporting a grade of 86.8 on Pro Football Focus. The next highest is also a defensive lineman. Now, he did miss last game, but he's still sitting at 70 snaps, and that's Tyleik Williams. I think he actually missed 2 games. So 82.9. He didn't get that tick up in competition this weekend, so that he seemed oddly quiet, but I guess he graded really well in what he did play. Arvel Reese, 99 snaps, and he rated an 82.7. Like, the next guy down, these are all, front 7, which speaks well for the front 7. And it also speaks well to Arvel Reese. I think he's clearly linebacker 3. He's grading as number 1. Clearly linebacker 3. I think Gabe Powers could make a position that he's linebacker 4 because Sonny Styles, he's a junior. I get it. He's a young player. He's going to make mistakes. Game reps. He doesn't seem to get better with game reps. He's not in the top 50, I don't believe. Excuse me. I'm going to talk to Sonny Styles. CJ Hicks. Forget everything I said. CJ Hicks is at 50.6 when it comes to PFF's overall grade. I think it's probably time to turn him into a stand-up Russian and move on. So Caleb Downs, you're sitting at 199 snaps. That's most than any defender. When you play the most and you have a top 5 grade, according to, let's go with starters and heavy played relief players, 80.4 for Caleb Downs. That's fantastic. After that, you have Cody Simon, then you have Lathan Ransom, then Jordan Hancock, then Jermaine Matthews. JT Tuimoloau at 13, Mitchell Melton at 14, Ty Hamilton at 15. Okay? Lot of good defensive line play, that tells me. Now, where do we look the most lost usually? It comes from the secondary sometimes. So when passes are too easy to complete. Remember we talked about that? Why does it look bad? Because it looks really easy sometimes to complete a pass. Or sometimes the front seven gets moved. It looks like they're playing with a six-man box. Coverage grades, same criteria as before coverage grades. 60 snaps or more, Caleb Downs, number one, and it is no surprise. I've never heard anybody complain about him. I think he does a lot of things that probably won't show up on stat sheets. I think he's obviously not always covering like an outside receiver, but as a strong safety, 78.4 usually against slots and things like that. But the highest rated pass coverage player and one of the top overall coverage players. He's asked to do. You got to do a lot of things at that strong safety position. You got to do some coverage, some like shadow coverage. You got to do some slot. You got to come down and crash and pick up the backfield. Sometimes you got to blitz. Sometimes you are the one guy probably that is going to get asked to tackle quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers and tight ends the most. It's not uncommon to get a tackle on any of those players. If you're a corner tackling a tight end, okay, maybe you're a little corner tackling on a running back. You're going to have to, right? But that's because it wasn't your primary match. The quarterback can have or the strong safety can have a primary match with a lot of these players. To have that diversity and to score so well, it shows you how good Caleb Downs is. With 79 snaps, this is concerning. I don't know. Jermaine Matthews Jr. is the number one corner in this roster at pass coverage, 77.3. Next, right behind him is a slot corner, or someone we'll call a nickel, Jordan Hancock. And then right behind him at a 75 grade is Denzel Burke. So not so bad, considering that Lathan Ransom is, 13th, which that's not great. But I think I don't have really any complaints against Latham so far this year. Again, competition's not been very good. What is concerning, and I know my friend Corey said this on another podcast because he's a trader, but 21st, Davidson Igbinosun, one of our outside corners, who was a really good player last year, is scoring a 57.5. That's concerning. It's concerning because sometimes, you wonder if Burke wasn't even better last year, and you certainly looks like Igbinosun was better last year. It's concerning, and this is not the first time I've seen this, where people digress when they play secondary, play corner specifically at Ohio State recently. That's concerning. And I know we've hyped up DB's coach a lot over the offseason because cool clips on Instagram or something, like I get cool, you're cool on Twitter. But until we see it on the field, we just don't know. That's concerning to me that Igbinosun came in as a transfer, was really good. The more time he spent at Ohio State, the worse he got. That's concerning. That's not like you don't always, you see that. Like you saw it with Steel Chambers, like the guy that just stepped straight into the linebacker room a couple years ago, and he was the best right away. And it's like, didn't say much about the linebacker coaching. So I say all that to say this. I think you can kind of diagnose the problem with this defense is that at times the coverage team falls asleep or the coverage team is ill-prepared. I certainly don't think it's a talent issue. Matter of fact, I know it's not a talent issue. I don't know if they're prepared and coached up well or if the scheme is strange. And the scheme fits strangely to them. This is one thing I think is worth noting. Although it's a really experienced and really good defense, this is like Denzel and Davidson played with each other last year, but they didn't play with Sonny in the linebacker spot. right? They played with him as a safety, and now they have Caleb Downs, and Latham is bouncing up high, and you had other guys starting last year. Now you have Hancock in the side. I think you have some new faces bouncing around that might throw off continuity, but I didn't expect to throw it off this much. I say that, throw it off. Again, number 2 overall defense against bad competition, albeit. So the interesting thing to watch in the future is, can we get some corners to start blanketing some people again? And we want to diagnose, is Jim Knowles even allowing it? Or is he just playing off coverage, bend but don't break? The issue is, I don't know if you can keep yourself from breaking against good teams. You haven't proven it yet. Let's see if they can. Until next time, guys, come back and see us. As always, goodbye, God bless, and go Bucks.